We're all still wondering what the season will look like and what a 60-game season will look like. So the new 60-game season PECOTA projections are out, and they are a little different. Here's how the projection system on Baseball Prospectus sees the season. In the American League, it's about what you would expect. The Yankees lead the way, projected to go 36-24, 3 games ahead of the Rays. The Twins projected to go 35-25 and take the Central, and the Astros also at 36-24, finishing 4 games ahead of the A's. So no shock to any of that. What is interesting is that projections, like the start of the season, have the White Sox and the Angels moving into wild card contention. These are the teams that could benefit from a shorter schedule and shake things up. Now, both clubs are projected to finish 31-29, very close to the Rays, Red Sox, Indians, and A's. That figures to be a good race in the American League. And remember, at 60 games, if a few games swing in anyone's favor, that's a big deal. In a 6-month season, think about it. 82 to 88 wins is the difference between also-ran and playoff team. So this year, 2-month season, the difference could be 30 wins, 32 wins. It's likely to be that close. To the National League, the Nationals are projected to edge the Mets at 33-27. The Mets are at 32 wins. The Braves at 30. Again, this is all very close, and it's a projection system. They're not saying they're that much more powerful, but this is where they come in at. And in the West, the projections do have the Dodgers at 38 wins. That's big. The best in the majors, winning the West by a good margin. The interesting team in the National League, we've been talking about this week, the Reds. And PECOTA has them winning the Central. Now, it's only 33 wins to 32 over the Cubs, just ahead of both the Cardinals and Brewers at 31-30. Again, it's really close. But the fact that the Reds have enough production to warrant that type of projection is very interesting and could be a team shaking up the National League. Obviously, a lot of factors to this year's season that will go beyond normal projections, but you start somewhere. I have all these caveats that I have to throw in all the time. We know, but what about this? Yeah, we know. John Heyman is here. Ron Darling is here. They know what I'm talking about. Hopefully, Mark Feinsand, our special guest, will know as well. How are you, Mark? It's good to have you back.
BK. How are you?
What do you make of this? Give me the PECOTA projections and surprises, or what you expected?
Yeah, I'm not surprised about the Reds. They've improved quite a bit by getting Castellanos and Moustakas. They already had the best pitching, I think, in that division. At least they did last year. The surprises for me are the perennially underrating of the Braves and the A's. Last year, they missed on both those teams. I always miss on the A's, too, so I'm not ripping them. I think the A's are better than 31.6 wins, or 32 wins, if you want to call it. And the Braves, they've got to be better than 30, right? I mean, they won 90-plus last year.
Yeah, and they're very young. And
right.
Even now Freddie Freeman is sick, but I don't think they're taking that into the projections there. What do you think, Mark?
You know, a few things I think you look at. Obviously, injuries have played a factor in the differences between March 18th and now. You know, the Mets now are supposed to be behind the Nationals. Noah Syndergaard was supposed to be there in March. He's not now. Boston plummeted a little bit in these latest projections. Chris Sale, Tommy John surgery, we know he's not going to be there this season. So I think those certainly play into it. And it's just interesting to see a team like the A's still, ranked behind the Astros. As John said, the Astros lost Garrett Cole and didn't replace him with anybody close to Garrett Cole. So I think the gap between those two teams should be maybe a little narrower than 3 games in a 60-game season.
Right. What PECOTA does, and Ronnie, every year said, what do these guys know? They're measuring the general production level of the team. And certainly if you're looking at WAR, sometimes you can get thrown off on certain things. But they're right a lot. I know they're wrong a lot, but they're right a lot, too.
I don't know if they're wrong a lot, but they tend to have teams that become kind of their whipping dog, right? The Braves and the A's now are what Showalter's Orioles and the Royals from 2014 and 15 were. But I think the thing that we like to see, because we've been hedging our bets a little bit on the Reds, hedging our bets on the Chicago White Sox, teams that could emerge in this truncated season, and PECOTA feels the same.
We were kicking that around before, and I think you guys are bigger on the Reds than I am. Where are you on the Reds?
I like the Reds. I think it's a really competitive division. The Brewers are going to be good. The Cubs should still be good. Obviously, the Cardinals are always a threat. So I think that might be as deep a division as there is in the game. I guess the NL East, you could argue, is right there with them. But the Reds were certainly the hot team this winter. But how many times do we see the team that won the winter go in and it translate on the field?
And as I threw this out a few days ago, too, John, the Red Sox will not be terrible, right? They're not the powerful Red Sox, but certainly PECOTA has them basically 500, but right around there. But again, if they go from 30 wins, that's their projection, to 33 to 34, that's not much. No. They're going to be a playoff team.
Yeah, they can get in. I think they're in the middle. I think they got that one right. They obviously suffered some big losses. Mookie Betts, a huge loss for them. But they're still a good team. They're in a tough division. I wouldn't be shocked if they made the playoffs.
The Blue Jays making a nice run here, too. And again, that's looking at the numbers. I mean, you can project with guys like Bo Bichette getting older, Ronnie.
Yeah.
What do you make of the Blue Jays, given that they're projected to be in a wild card mix?
Well, I think we always talk about it in the long season. If you're a 500 team, once you come to September 1st, you have a chance. If you're a 500 team in this 60-game season, you're going to be in it the last week of the year, season. And I think that's the main difference. So a team like the Blue Jays, we talked about the Reds before, the closer that they are in a division where everyone is kind of beating up each other, it better it is for those teams who are trying to knock on the door.
Because it is Bichette and Gurriel and Vlad Jr. and Kevin Biggio. Like 4 young guys who are excellent. If they all get better, right, which they should get better, if not great, we could be looking at something special.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the key for them is those 4 guys taking that next step. Ryu coming over to the American League and having the same success that we saw him have in the National League. The pitching is really the only major question mark for the Blue Jays. I think everybody looks at their lineup and likes what's there, especially if those guys you mentioned take that next step forward. But then again, you're in a division with the Yankees, with the Rays. We talked about the Red Sox being a tough out. So I think, they've still got an uphill climb, though you could certainly see them as an organization take a step forward this year, even if they don't get to the playoffs.
And the Dodgers are up at 38 wins. And again, this is a projection system that is normally quite conservative. I'm glad that you stood up for them a little bit. I'm used to getting this slammed year after year. They're always wrong. It's like, well, any of us could be, are going to be wrong if you put it out on the line. But Dodgers at 38 wins, so that looks for real.
Absolutely. The Dodgers are an exceptionally deep team, an exceptionally talented team. That lineup is fantastic. I mean, they have arguably the best rotation and arguably the best lineup. That's a deadly combination. You got Bellinger, the MVP, Turner, one of the best players in the game, and you've added Mookie Betts. And I mean, they have good players all over the diamond. They're the best team. I think that's fair.
They were projected, Mark, at 103 wins in the initial projection. So that's, I think, the highest that there's ever been.
I was going to say, putting the Dodgers as the best team in baseball is not exactly putting it out there in terms of going out on any limbs.
Reflecting what we believe to be reality.
But, obviously the Dodgers are probably top to bottom the most talented team out there. Again, a 60-game season, I don't think any of us have any idea what that means in terms of bringing the good teams and the middle teams closer together, because, like you said, a 2 or 3 game swing is the equivalent of like a 6 or 7 game swing over a 162.
I think the Dodgers are going to be a 40-win team. That would be the only one, but I think they're going to win, 40 and 20 or even more than that. And when you look at their ball club and some of the teams that are challenged in baseball this year, you could look at the Dodgers roster. They have about 4 or 5 different DHs now that the National League's using the DH. They have 8 to 10 players that would be the best players on about half dozen teams.